What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Ray V. Let's get it.
Sad boy.
Sad boy quote of the day.
F ain't for feels, it's for
fantasies.
fantasies.
So let's get into our deepest fantasies, baby.
I'll give you a third for him, though.
Comment section. Mogs420 exclaims, finally! Somebody that's not regurgitating Hendo hate. There's no way the Pats are stupid enough to ignore what Henny did after they tried to bluff out on him in the first half of the season. 100 emoji. Hey, for real, they'd be stupid to ignore his production. I still think Stevenson will be an annoying thorn in his side for fantasy this season, though. But you're telling me Hendy won't be better than RB20? You're tripping. We're doing a buy low video today. The prices of these players may be the cheapest they'll ever be. Maybe. Let's check him out. First guy's going to be Odunze. The hate hit piece may have dropped him far enough to the point where I'm actually comfortable buying back in. And y'all know me, I hate Odunze. If I'm trying to win a Dynasty League in 2026, Odunze is one of the first receivers I'm calling about at this current price. You're buying the talent, not the box scores. Odunze didn't suddenly forget how to play wide receiver. He was a top 10 NFL draft pick, one of the best wide receiver prospects of the past several classes, an elite collegiate producer, and only 24 years old. Those players almost never become bad overnight. So what happened? He started 2025 on fire, then he played through a stress fracture in his foot, and his production cratered before he eventually missed time. In Dynasty, injuries create buying windows. His underlying usage stayed excellent. The fantasy points disappeared. The opportunity didn't. Even in an injury-shortened season, he still led Chicago in deep targets, tied for the team lead in end zone targets, and commanded plenty of first read looks. Those are exactly the metrics that predict future wide receiver 1 seasons. His situation is actually improving. One reason managers are panicking is because they look at the crowded Bears offense, but entering 2026, DJ Moore is gone. Odunze projects as the primary outside X receiver. He's healthy again, or his new normal. There are whispers that he could become one of the featured weapons in the offense. I mean, I don't think so, but you know, he could still be like the second or third option. People, like me, are still valuing him like a low-end wide receiver 2. His current dynasty price is around wide receiver 20 to wide receiver 24 depending on the market. That's crazy when you're considering his ceiling. If Rome gives you 90 catches, 1,200 yards, and 8 touchdowns, he immediately jumps back into top 10 dynasty wide receiver conversation. That's the type of value swing you're chasing. The dynasty community is already split. Some managers think he's already a bust. Others still believe he's a future alpha. Those polarizing players are where league-winning trades happen. When everyone agrees a player is elite, you can never buy them. I'd give a late 2027 first for Odunze, Chris Godwin in a second for Odunze, Michael Pittman in a second for Odunze, or Travis Etienne Achane straight up for Odunze. You're not betting that Odunze is already a star. You're betting that the foot injury is behind him. He adjusts well to his new normal. His talent still matches his prospect profile. His role in Chicago grows, and the dynasty market overreacted to one disappointing injury-affected season. If that happens, you're buying a 24-year-old receiver at a wide receiver 2 price who can easily be valued as a top 10 to top 12 dynasty wideout a year from now. That's exactly the kind of asymmetrical upside I look for in dynasty trades. Our next guy is going to be Jayden Waddle. Jayden Waddle is exactly the kind of player dynasty managers regret selling a year too early. His market has cooled because he hasn't consistently delivered wide receiver 1 fantasy finishes, but almost everything that made him an elite dynasty asset is still there. The difference is that now you can acquire him at a wide receiver 2 price instead of paying a premium. Recent dynasty markets have him around wide receiver 26 to wide receiver 30, a significant drop from where he was valued just a couple years ago. He's still in his prime. Waddle is only 27 entering the 2026 season. People talk about him like he's an aging veteran, but he should still have another 4 to 5 years of high-level production. Wide receivers with his speed, route running, and draft pedigree don't usually lose value because of talent. They lose value because of circumstance. The ceiling hasn't disappeared. Over his career, Waddle has shown he can command a high target share, separate against man coverage, create explosive plays after the catch, and win at every level of the field. Late in 2025, when he was featured more heavily, his usage spiked. He posted target shares above 27% in 5 of his final 6 healthy games while maintaining strong efficiency, even as Miami's offense struggled. That's not the profile of a declining player. It's the profile of someone who still earns opportunities. A fresh start could actually unlock him. A change of scenery often creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates buying windows. Denver traded meaningful draft capital to acquire Waddle, signaling that it views him as a major offensive piece. Projections for his first season there have him pushing towards 120 plus targets in a pass-friendly offense. Even if he settles in as a high-end wide receiver 2, that's already a solid return at his current cost. If he becomes Bo Nix's clear number 1 receiver, his dynasty value could rebound quickly. You're buying the floor and the upside. One of the things I like most about Waddle is that he doesn't need a perfect outcome. His realistic range of outcomes looks something like a floor of wide receiver 24 to wide receiver 30, a median of wide receiver 15 to wide receiver 18, and a ceiling of a top 10 fantasy wide receiver. That's an excellent risk-reward profile for someone who's no longer priced as a cornerstone asset. I'd give a late 2027 first for Waddle, Jayden Reed in a second for Waddle, or David Montgomery in a second for Waddle. You're betting that the dynasty market has become too focused on what Waddle hasn't done recently instead of what he's capable of becoming. If he posts something like 90 catches, 1,200 yards, and 7 to 8 touchdowns in Denver, he'll likely be valued as a top 15 dynasty wide receiver again. The gap between his current price and the potential value is why I think he's one of the better buy lows of 2026. Next guy is going to be Jordyn Tyson. If there's one rookie I'm trying to acquire before week 1 of 2026, it's Jordyn Tyson. The biggest reason isn't just that I like the player, it's that I don't think you'll ever get him cheaper than you can right now. The market hasn't caught up to his draft capital. Tyson was selected number 8 overall by the Saints. Top 10 wide receivers don't usually lose value as rookies unless they completely flop. Instead, their price tends to climb as they flash during training camp and their first NFL season. Right now, you're paying for projection. Next offseason, you'll be paying for production. He checks every box you want in a dynasty receiver. Tyson wasn't just a good college receiver. He was one of the most analytically friendly prospects in the class. Elite separator, polished route runner, won against man coverage at an elite rate, produced at every level of the field, and consistently made explosive plays downfield. Those traits tend to translate well to the NFL because they aren't dependent on scheme or manufactured touches. First round receivers usually appreciate. Dynasty managers love to chase rookie breakouts. If Tyson has a couple of 100-yard games, earns an every down role, or finishes with 900 plus receiving yards, his value probably jumps a full tier. Even if he has a merely solid rookie season, most managers won't be looking to sell anymore. That's why I think this is a buy now or pay later situation. He's already viewed as one of the elite receivers in his class. Before the season even starts, Tyson is consistently grouped in the top 2 receivers from the 2026 rookie class alongside Carnell Tate. Analysts view those two as the clear top wide receiver tier, and Tyson is frequently selected in the top 4 of rookie drafts. If he validates that ranking as a rookie, his trade value isn't going down. I think he's more expensive next offseason. This is the simplest part of the argument. Ask yourself, what has to happen for Tyson to lose value? He'd probably need to disappoint as a rookie, struggle to earn snaps, or suffer a significant injury. Now ask the opposite. What happens if he simply looks like a good first round receiver? Suddenly he's a 22-year-old former top 10 NFL draft pick with a productive rookie season and years of runway ahead of him? Managers almost never sell that profile at a discount. Or ever. I'd much rather buy before the market gets confirmation than after. I'd give a mid to late 2027 first for Jordyn Tyson, DeAndre Swift in a second for Jordyn Tyson, or Parker Washington in a second for Jordyn Tyson. You're betting that the NFL got it right when it made Tyson a top 10 pick. If he looks anything like the polished receiver scouts expected, his dynasty value is likely to be higher in May 2027 than it is today. That's why I see him as one of the best buy before the breakout candidates in Dynasty. Next guy is Dalton Kincaid. Even though I hate Dalton Kincaid, he is the definition of a dynasty buy low. 3 years ago, he was viewed as the next great fantasy tight end. Now, after 2 injury-plagued seasons, many managers have written him off, and he probably wrote back. That's exactly when I want to buy. You're buying a former elite prospect at his lowest value. Kincaid wasn't just a first-round pick. He was drafted in the first round by one of the league's best offenses to become a receiving weapon for Josh Allen. His rookie year justified the hype. 73 receptions, 673 receiving yards, and immediate fantasy relevance. Since then, injuries, not talent, have held him back. The efficiency is still elite. The box scores don't tell the whole story. Even in an injury-shortened 2025 season, he averaged 2.79 yards per route run, one of the best marks among NFL tight ends. He led all tight ends in receptions of 20-plus yards. He produced 571 yards and 5 touchdowns despite limited snaps and only 12 games played. When a player is still producing efficiently on limited opportunities, I'm much more willing to bet on the talent. The biggest problem has been health, not ability. Over the past 2 seasons, Kincaid has dealt with multiple injuries and missed 9 games. Buffalo also managed his workload with reduced snaps as he worked back. The encouraging part is that reports entering 2026 indicate he's healthy and feeling better than he has since entering the league. If the health cooperates, the role can grow. Elite tight ends don't grow on trees. In Dynasty, finding difference makers at tight end is incredibly difficult. Managers spend years chasing the next breakout. Kincaid has already shown he can produce in the NFL, and he's still only 26 years old. He's viewed as one of the better bounce-back candidates at the position, despite his depressed dynasty value. I'd rather gamble on that profile than hope a random second-round rookie eventually becomes what Kincaid has already flashed. And I really don't think he'll be this cheap next offseason. This is the biggest reason I'm buying right now. Ask yourself what happens if Kincaid stays healthy and posts 70 receptions, 800 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Suddenly he's back in the tight end 6 to tight end 8 conversation, and nobody is selling him for today's price. You don't need him to become Brock Bowers or Trey McBride. You just need him to remind everyone why Buffalo drafted him in the first round. If that happens, his dynasty value climbs much faster than the acquisition cost you're paying right now. I'd give 2/3 for Dalton Kincaid, or even give Jake Ferguson straight up for Dalton Kincaid. You're betting that injuries, not talent, are the reason Kincaid's value has fallen. The traits that made him a first round pick are still there: elite receiving ability, one of the league's best quarterbacks, and proven efficiency when healthy. If he finally puts together a full season, I think managers will wonder why they ever let him go for 2/3 or a replaceable veteran. That's the type of dynasty arbitrage I'm always looking to exploit. And our last guy, you know how we get nasty with the last guys, is Braelon Allen. Braelon Allen might be the best example of a player whose real life outlook got worse, but whose dynasty value may have dropped even more than it should have. The Jets signing Breece Hall to a 3-year, $45.75 million extension effectively ended any hope that Allen would become New York's lead back in the near future. Hall is now under contract through 2028 and is being paid like one of the league's premier running backs. Most dynasty managers saw the news and crossed Allen off their list. I see it as a buying opportunity. Breece Hall's extension is exactly why Allen is so cheap right now. Before the extension, there was always a possibility that Hall would eventually leave in free agency. That dream is gone, and because it's gone, Allen's dynasty value has cratered. But here's the thing, his talent didn't change. The only thing that changed was the perception of his path to touches. That's often where dynasty value gets out of sync with player value. Running back situations change fast. Go back just 2 years. No one thought Tony Pollard would ever leave Dallas, Aaron Jones would leave Green Bay, or Josh Jacobs would leave Las Vegas. Allen doesn't need Hall to disappear forever. He just needs Hall to miss a few games, the Jets to increase his workload, or another team to eventually view Allen as a starting caliber back when his rookie contract nears its end. Running backs gain value overnight. He's still one of the youngest backs in the league. People forget how young Allen is because he's already entering his 3rd NFL season, but he's only 22 years old. That's younger than some of the incoming rookie running backs. You're buying someone with NFL experience, elite size, proven athleticism, and years before he even reaches the typical running back age cliff. The profile is still exciting. Allen is exactly the type of back I want to stash in Dynasty. He's 6'1", 250 pounds of pure muscle, a violent downhill runner, capable in short yardage and goal line situations, and surprisingly good as a receiver for his size. Those traits give him multiple paths to fantasy relevance. Even if he never becomes a 300 touch workhorse, he could still become an RB2 with touchdown upside if he earns more volume. Injuries and the extension have made everyone forget about him. Allen's 2025 season ended almost before it started because of an MCL injury after just 4 games. Now, instead of talking about his upside, dynasty managers mostly see Hall's backup. That's exactly the type of player I want to buy. He's inexpensive because managers are pricing in the downside while largely ignoring the upside. Handcuffs with talent matter. Not all backup running backs are created equal. Some are roster cloggers. Allen is different because if Hall misses time, there's a legitimate chance Allen immediately steps into meaningful early down and goal line work. Even with Hall extended, analysts still view Allen as one of the better high upside handcuffs because of his physical running style and the workload he could inherit if called upon. That's valuable in and of itself. I'd give a 2027 third for Braelon Allen, or a depth wide receiver like Jalen Naylor for Braelon Allen. You're not betting that Braelon Allen overtakes Breece Hall. You're betting that the dynasty market has overreacted to Hall's extension. Today, managers see a backup running back coming off an injury and blocked by a newly extended star. I see a 22-year-old former day 3 pick with an intriguing athletic profile, a player whose value has already absorbed almost all of the bad news, and someone who could become much more valuable with just one change in circumstance. Those are exactly the type of assets I want at the end of my dynasty roster. They don't need everything to break right, they just need one opportunity. And if that opportunity comes, Allen's value could double long before he's ever inserted in your starting lineup. I hope y'all like the players I brought to the table today and the analysis that went along with it. The values in the middle of July be moving and we have to take advantage of it. But you can't do that without your daily dose of send that trade. Send it. Send it. That's it for today though. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and remember, rebuilds fade, dynasties reign. Call me a lover boy, simp, Libra. It's more than love sick, I got a fever. Feelings overloading, not to be a diva. Standing 10 toes down, I'm not gonna leave you.